because you're probably guessing what I'm going to put in my hand. But a video title, Captain Underpants. Guess what? So I got a challenge for you.
What?
You're going to read this out loud, and I'm going to read this out loud for 10 minutes.
1 second.
Just go right into the book, not the contents or anything. Begin when I start. Begin when I start.
Okay. We're going to read at the same time?
Yeah.
How are we going to hear each other if we're both reading at the same time?
Guess what? Just do it.
Okay.
Scroll says with chapter 1.
Chapter.
Dude, what the heck? Dude.
Trying to understand how this. 1 minute. Here we go. So right here.
No, I'm talking. Just say it's just chapter 1.
This is all this in the beginning part. Then it goes into chapter. Oh.
That's right there. That's
I
what
missed that. I missed that.
Meet George Beard and Harold
This is
Hutchins.
George Beard and Harold Hutchins.
George and the kid on
George
the left.
is the kid on the left with the tie and the flat top. Harold
Is
is the one on the right with the t-shirt and the bad haircut. Remember that now.
George and Harold were best.
Depending on who you asked, you'd probably hear a lot of different things about George and Harold. Their teacher, Ms. Ribble, might say that George and Harold were disruptive and behaviorally challenged.
Wait, are you really? Is that really in the book?
Yeah.
Okay. Start looking. George
Their
and
gym
Harold were
teacher,
their best
Mr. Meader,
friends.
might
had
add
a lot
that they
in
were in
common.
serious need of
They
a
lived
major
right next door to
attitude
each other,
adjustment.
and they were both in the
Their
same
principal,
fourth
Mr.
grade
Krupp, would
class.
probably have a few more choice words to
George
include, like
Andrews
sneaky
Elementary
and
School.
criminally
George
mischievous.
and Harold
and
were usually
I'll get those
responsible.
boys if it's the last thing
If
I.
anything bad
Well,
happened,
you
George
know
and
the
Harold
idea.
were unusually responsible.
But if you ask their
Don't take the
parents,
wrong idea.
they'll
about
probably
this.
tell you that George and
George
Harold were
were
smart
actually
and
really nice
sweet
boys.
and very
No matter
good-hearted.
what everybody else
Even
thought,
if they were a
they
bit
were
silly
good,
at times.
sweet, and lovable.
I'd have to agree with
Well,
their parents.
okay, but maybe they weren't so sweet and lovable, but they were good. No. It's just that George and Harold each have a
Even
silly
so,
streak and
this
mild
silliness did get them into a
Unusually,
lot of
the
trouble.
silly streak is hard to control.
Sometimes.
Sometimes it
In
got them
fact,
into trouble. And
Once they got them into so much trouble that they accidentally almost destroyed the whole planet with an army of evil, vicious, talking toilets. Toilets! Just like Miraculous says, toilets! But before I can tell you that story, I have to tell you this story. Chapter 2. One fine morning at Jerome Horowitz's elementary school, George and Harold had just gone out of their 4th grade remedial gym class when they saw a big sign in the hallway. It was an announcement for the 2nd annual invention convention. 2nd annual invention convention. Grand prize, yeah. George and Harold had fond memories of last year's invention convention, but this year's convention was a bit different.
Chapter 3, The Adventures
The
of Captain
first prize winner got to be principal for the day. Wow, said George. Whoever gets to be principal gets to make up all the rules for the whole day. And everybody in school has to follow those rules. We have got to win first prize this year, explained Harold. Just then, George and Harold's principal, Mr. Krupp, showed up. Aha! He shouted. I'll bet you two are up to no good. Not really, said George. We were just reading about this year's contest. Yeah, said Harold. We're going to win first prize in the contest and be principals for the day. Ha ha! Laughed Mr. Krupp.
and able
Do
to
you
leap tall
honestly
buildings without
think
bending a
I'm gonna
whistle.
let you two enter this year's
Night
contest
and day,
after that
Captain
stunt you
Underpants.
pulled at last
Not over
year's
sea and fighting
invention
for truth.
convention?
All
George
justice.
and Harold
all
smiled and thought
appreciate
back to the
comes.
first annual invention convention. Oh yeah,
Meanwhile,
Chapter
by
3,
elementary
the
school
flashback.
page.
It was about 1 year earlier. All the faculty and students of Jerome Horwitz Elementary
Yuck.
School had
Everybody
gathered
hated
in the
it so
gymnasium
much, but they
for
all
what would later be
threw it
known
away.
as the sticky chair incident.
Came to life.
George and Harold stepped up to the microphone.
The
Ladies
inaccessible
and gentlemen,
A
said
monster
George,
ran around the
Harold and
school,
I
eating
have
everything
invented
in sight.
something that is guaranteed to
Wow,
keep you all
inaccessible
glued to
hole.
your seats.
Just say 15
Yes, said
folding
Harold,
chairs
we
and
all
cheap
call
teacher.
it,
Oh, no,
we
not
call
for
it
the chairs.
glue.
Looks like a
Mr. Crump
chalkboard.
became very angry.
Captain
You two did not invent
Underpants.
glue, he shouted.
Underpants shot a lot of underwear at
He
the
stood up
monster,
at the
but it didn't
microphone away from
do
Harold,
any good.
and his chair stood up with him. Everyone in the
Captain
gymnasium
Underpants,
laughed.
take off our running
The
and
school
successful
secretary,
old
Miss
chase
Anthrope, stood up to help remove Mr. Crump's chair
Chased him.
from his
and
pants.
chased him.
Her chair
Finally,
stood up with
the
her too.
inaccessible Hulk got too
Everyone in the
tired.
gymnasium laughed
First
harder.
he chased Captain
The other teachers stood
Underpants.
up, and you guessed it, they were stuck
So
to
the
their
monster
chairs as
took a
well.
long drink from
Everyone in the
shiny
audience
white
howled
bowl.
with
Go, go,
laughter.
go, go. Suddenly, flush.
One kid
The
stood
right
up to
Captain
go to the bathroom,
Underpants.
and his chair came up
So
with
the
him
inaccessible
also.
Hulk got forced
The
away.
audience
Never
stopped
heard-
laughing so hard,
From the
they all
left and
quickly
right.
checked their chairs. And suddenly,
Don't miss our next
the
listen.
laughter
Captain
stopped
Underpants,
completely.
the attack of the top
Everyone in the
twins.
whole
Turns into
school was
playground
glued
interview.
to their seats.
Chapter 4. Mean old Mr. Crow.
You see,
Mr. Crow.
while it was true that George and Harold had
Now
not
Mr.
invented
Crow was the
glue,
meanest,
they had invented a new kind of glue
sourest old
by
principal of the
simply
whole
mixing
school
rubber
of
cement
elementary school.
with concentrated
They hate
orange
laughter
juice mix.
singing.
They had
Hate the
created a
sounds of
quick
children
drying,
playing recess.
body heat
In
activated glue.
Hate children all together.
Then they applied
And
the special
guess
glue
what
to
the
every
two
seat in the
children
gymnasium,
hated the most
except theirs, early that
Mr.
morning.
Harold, you're right.
Everybody in the
Mr. Harold,
gymnasium was glaring at George and
They
Harold
hate your
and
friends and your
seething with anger.
cracks. They had the silly
I've got a
attitudes and
good
their
idea,
constant
said
giggling.
George. What,
And
said
their
Harold.
especially hated
Run,
awful
cried
compliments
George.
on the books.
George and Harold were running from
I'm
ear to
going
ear,
to get those
remembering the
boys
silly
one
invention and the
day,
chaos
Mr.
that
Donald.
followed.
One day
That
very,
was
very
hilarious, laughed Harold.
Soon. Chapter
Yeah,
5. One
chuckled
day very,
George.
very soon.
It'll be hard to top that this year.
Remember when I
Well,
said Jordan
you
Harold
won't get a
was so
chance
strict?
this year, Mr.
Got
Crump.
the big
said Mr.
trouble
Crump.
ones. Those
He
ones
took
on
out
the
a
map.
magnifying glass and
Somehow
held it up to
huge
the
crank
fine
on
print on the
back
sign.
nail punch the principal
This
for the coolest figure
contest
of all
is
time.
open to all
was a
students
day
in the
the
3rd and
football
4th
game
grade except
Between a Harold
George
and Kermit,
Beard
just
and
the
Harold
speed of speedboats.
Hutchins.
The bleachers were filled up.
You mean we
fans.
can't enter the contest? Asked Harold. It's worse
Cheer-
than that, Mr.
Cheerleaders
Crump.
ran into the
You
field
boys
and
can't even
shot the
attend
pom
this year's
poms at
convention.
their hands.
I'm putting you two in study hall the whole day.
Fine bag
Mr. Crump turned and walked away,
dust
laughing
over the
viciously,
pom-poms.
victoriously.
Said it all.
Rats, said Harold.
Give me a K.
What we're going to
shouted
do
the
now?
cheerleaders.
Well,
Give
said
cheerleaders
George,
K.
you know the old
Give me
saying,
N.
if you can't
Shouted
join
the
them,
cheerleaders
beat them.
N. Be the back. Give
Early
me
that
a-
evening, George
shoot.
and Harold sneaked back to the school with their
shoot.
supplies.
Greeted the fans.
They crept
Achoo,
into the
achoo.
gymnasium and peeked around. I think everybody's still in here, whispered Harold.
Sneeze and sneeze.
Oh,
Sneeze
it's
some
just
more.
Melvin
Couldn't stop
Sedley,
sneezing.
said
Hey,
George.
saw the shot of finger.
Melvin was the school brainiac.
He
He was busy putting some last minute touches on his new invention of the contest.
The missing ball.
We should wait here until his
Anything
leaves,
in that moment. Not gonna
whispered Harold.
run out of field.
No way, said George.
Scratching,
He
itching
can be
like
here all
crazy.
night.
Hey,
Let's just go
shouted
over
Coach.
and talk to
Someone
him.
replaced a deep
When
heat
Melvin
muscle
saw
rubber
George and
with
Harold
the
approaching,
pranksters.
he was not happy.
Scratching itch secret.
Oh no, he
We
said.
wonder who did that.
I bet you guys are here to mess with everyone's inventions.
The
Nice
family
guess,
of
said
bleachers.
George.
All
Listen,
I have to do when
I
much the
promise not to
same
mess
way.
with your
Let the
invention.
people
But
shout.
you promise not to
Everyone
tell
from Mr.
anybody that
Hey,
you saw us here
From
tonight.
everyone from hey,
Melvin
someone
looked
put semen
lovingly
through
at his
lemonade.
invention.
Hey, some
And
blew
reluctantly
on the
agreed.
bathroom door shut.
I promise,
Hold on,
he
most of the
said.
fans were bleachers with gone up and
Great,
left.
said George.
Game is unfolded and
Say,
everyone on the entire
what is
school
that
is
invention of
miserable.
yours anyways? It
We
just
are
looks like a
each no
photocopy machine. Well,
Everyone